everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Gila Monster Rides. Today we have a little bit something different. You'll notice that I am in a computer chair, a gaming chair, and this is a fake snoring desert background because it's once again hot as balls in Arizona, as we say. Actually, we had a couple days where it was like had come below the hundreds. I know a lot of the United States is kind of sweltering right now, but trying to film out in the heat or really do anything out in the heat, even go for a ride, it has been a little trying lately. So I'm going to quick go over some updates and kind of like bounce some ideas off of you guys. I like your feedback on a lot of these things, although, there's always a few people that are a little screwball in the comments, and I just try to roll with those for the most part. So, let's get to what I've been working on and what you can expect coming up. So, I have a test ride video of a brand new 2025 Indian Scout Bobber. That's coming up. I shot that actually a couple of weekends ago, but there's all sorts of little technical issues with the video and the sound that I'm trying to tackle separately, and it's been a little frustrating, so I'm still hoping to get that out. The audio really, for one thing, I don't want to give away too much of my review of the bike, but the new Indian Scouts are almost silent. It's really weird. So I almost picked up zero exhaust note on the video. In fact, I don't think you can hear any. And it was really weird because when I shot some to get my afterthoughts on Francine, the classic 350 afterwards, and you can still clear, or she's a little muffled because now I have the microphone, inside the helmet. And it's a little muffled, but you can definitely still hear. So the new Scouts are very silent. So that should be coming out soon. And I am working on an outline for the entire tuning series. I was going to do one video about the tuning, but I realized it was way too much information. So I wanted to break it up into more digestible bites for you and me, honestly. So I'm almost done with kind of my outlines for that. Should get that shot soon. What I wanted to talk about today, though, was even though I still have some things I want to do to Francine, my classic 350, now 410cc, I still have some things I want to do with that bike as far as modifications go. You ask, whoa, what more could you do? There's a couple other things. I kind of want to keep one of those big things somewhat close to the chest, but it will involve painting her. I know a lot of you are probably going to be sad to see the chrome in the tank and the fenders go away, but I have a really cool concept that goes back. I've been thinking about this since the new classic 350s came out. I've had this concept in my head the entire time. It's one reason I bought this colorway, because it has some other features that lend well to this idea. But I have started to get into the planning phases of another Royal Enfield Classic 350 that I want to purchase. And that is that I've always really liked the Signals models. Now they've recently changed that with the 2025 going to a two-tone camo thing. I don't really groove on too much. I like the Marsh Gray, which is really an OD green, and I like the Desert Sands too, and a really good friend of mine has the Desert Sands. Actually, two of my good friends have the Desert Sands, and I know a few other people that do too. I think It's not a light tan color. It's kind of got a tiny bit of a yellowish tint to it too. So it's kind of like a mustard sand color, in my opinion. Um, However, like all along that I've been thinking about doing this build, I've really wanted to build it up to kind of resemble one of the North African World War II bikes, but also reflect my own military experience. I've never probably mentioned on the channel, but I was in the U.S. Army. I deployed to Afghanistan, and we rode around in vehicles that had a color scheme very similar to like the North African World War II stuff. Like both sides are British, American, and Germany. All had similar colors for a lot of their equipment in the North Africa campaign. And anyway, I think it would be really cool to paint it up to kind of reflect my military experience, put my unit badges and everything on it, and create a number for it. So I might not even buy a Signals model. I might just pick up any particular used Royal Enfield that I can repaint, and I can actually get the match to what the U.S. used in both Iraq and Afghanistan. I can get a match for that. It would end up being probably a matte paint finish. It would probably be helpful if I at least started with one of the models that has the blacked out engine and exhaust, although I would change that. So I'm still thinking possibly getting a Signals model and then just repainting it. I know that seems sacrilege to some of the Signals fans, but I really want it to reflect my own military experience and also kind of honor some of those North African campaign bikes. And I'm going to throw up a bunch of those through this little section. So this kind of goes, next part goes to the heart of, like, if I had to redo Francine over again, how would I do that? Well, with this new bike, what I want to make my own Signals, I want it to be an on-road, off-road bike. In fact, I kind of want it to be almost a 40-60 bike, on-road, off-road, to be able to do Jeep trails. I have 3 specific trails in mind that I would eventually love to get the chance to do, kind of in order of maybe not necessarily difficulty, but magnitude of time and everything. There's 2 trails here in Arizona that I would love to be able to tackle with that bike. Even if I meant like I had to take one workaround or something like that. One would be the Arizona Peace Trail, which is in a big giant figure-8 loop out in western Arizona. That might be the most difficult of the 3 trails I'm thinking about. Although I can tackle it in sections, like going out for a weekend and just doing a section or 2. So I don't necessarily have to do it all at once, although I definitely want to. There's another trail called I think a lot of people know about the Backcountry Discovery Routes, and Arizona has one in particular that goes essentially from near Vegas all the way through Arizona down towards, I want to say down towards Douglas. I forget exactly where it goes to the Mexican border, but that would be another awesome trail to try to tackle on this 350 adventure. I don't want to call it an adventure bike, but maybe that's the best term for it, because I would put some knobbies on it. There's a company that puts out tires called Hide Now, and I think they're Scouts, and they have 2 different levels of tires, and I think you kind of have to play around with that, with the sizing on the classic 350. But engine mod wise, I think I would do things differently than Francine, because Francine I've built up to be a all around bike. So I think what I would do different with the new Classic 350 is I would not put a Hunter ECU in it. I would be just fine with it having that 75-mile-an-hour limiter, which is in reality is 72 miles an hour because of the speedometer offset. I would also retain the 15-tooth front sprocket, and that's for some off-road torque. But I still might go ahead and put another 410cc kit on it just to add a little extra oomph and torque to the bike. And on top of that, I would definitely do the FuelX Pro. I don't know if I would do the Plus. I think I would go just to a FuelX Pro. That way I could dial it in a little bit better for not only altitude but temperature changes, because out here in the desert, I could actually help keep the bike a little cooler by enriching it a little bit, and then if I'm just on some freeway, I could lean it back out. The other thing that I have decided to do with this bike is I'm going to create two different maps. I'm going to install a PowerTRONICs, and I'm going to create an on-road map and an off-road map. And that way I can just flip that switch when I'm on pavement or whether I'm on dirt to kind of tune the bike to those two different uh, not environments exactly, but those two demands, because they're quite different, and I could tackle those differently in the tuning. So, in a sense, much different than the way I would build, or I have built Francine. And where was I going to go? Oh, so I would definitely keep the suspension uh, normal heights. I wouldn't do, like on Francine, I have 20 millimeter shorter shocks. I would do full length shocks on the other one. I don't know that I would do the covered shocks. I don't know, like you never see covered shocks on off-road bikes. So I might just do blacked out, but better shocks than the stock shocks. Maybe some icons, or I don't know. If you guys have some suggestions on what would fit the Classic 350 for a little more off-road use. There's no real good way to like bring up the front end on a Classic 350 with the way the forks are set up. So I don't think I would want to raise the back at all. I would probably just keep it at stock level. Uh, I would probably, instead of getting a real sprung seat like I have on Francine, I would probably just go with the lowrider seat and then put a rack on it. Uh, go with the big square Royal Enfield style saddlebags. Those very much look like what you would have seen on some of the World War II bikes. And yeah, other than the sand paint, maybe a 410 kit, maybe not. Stick with the 15 tooth sprocket, the normal ECU, but I would do those things to like the PowerTRONICs and the FuelX, so I can control the fueling and ignition a little bit easier. So there's that. If you have any ideas on some things I might want to think about with that bike, I'm definitely open to ideas. And I think I'm going to leave that for today's episode. I have another subject I want to talk about. There's so many things I need to film and get out there, but maybe next time I'll hit up what I'm not doing one of the tuning videos. I'll slip in a little bit of a thing. I'm searching for a vintage British bike that I want to add to the collection, and I've been looking for my perfect bike. I think I have an answer, but I also want to get some feedback from you guys. So wherever you're at, hope you're staying cool and you get out for some rides, and we'll talk to you soon.